stone, but I am putting them down now. It is a quiet kind of break. Lord, help me now. I am sitting by the window, watching the rain wash the pavement. I've been carrying these heavy stones, too many stones, but I am putting them down now. It is a quiet kind of brave to just let the weight fall. Give me a clean slate. The spirit properly. I am starting again today, right now. Help me leave it all behind. The air feels different this morning. The color is returning to the garden. I don't need to explain my reasons. I just need to breathe. Just breathe. No more looking over my shoulder. Yesterday is a finished book. Give me a clean slate. Wash the spirit properly. Starting again today, right now. Help me leave it all behind. It is not a defeat to walk away. It is a mercy I give myself. Sweet mercy. Sanctify this new path. For the silence, a clean slate, starting over. It feels so light now, so light, so light. Leaving the past in the rain, let it wash away. Hallelujah for the new day, moving on. Sky change, loyal. Same breath, same line, close, true, true. Stay, stay. Time moves, we stand unbroken, certain, certain, no distance, just here with me, with me, with me, always, always. Anchor, steady, hold, still, always.
The hills are shifting shape, I see the grass turn gray. It's a long way to the coast, but I like the way it feels, the way it feels. My boots are caked in mud, I don't look at the map, the air is getting thin. I just keep the pace steady, it keeps coming round, round and round. I just let it happen, let it happen. Nothing stops the clock, I am the one moving, I am the one moving, moving on. The rain is cold and sharp, it hits the back of my neck. I reckon I can make it before the light goes down. The trees are bending back like they're trying to tell me something. I don't need to hear it. I've got enough inside. It keeps coming round, round and round. I just let it happen, let it happen. Nothing stops the clock, I am the one moving, I am the one moving, moving on. I thought the path would end, I thought the ground would end, I thought the ground would break. But it's only a thought, it's only a thought in my head, just a thought. I am my own engine, it keeps coming round, round and round. I just let it happen, let it happen. Nothing stops the clock, I am the one moving, I am the one moving, moving on, moving on, moving on, moving on.
Drag the birch logs from the yard, sticky on my palms. The garden is turning to wild. Winter is biting at the glass. Biting at the glass. Pull the chair closer to the grates. Let the heat's heavy on our skin. The amber pulse in the heart. Keep the world on the other side. On the other side. My father had these same hands. Cracked skin and steady breath. He taught me how to stack the base. To let the air feed the core. Feed the core. Pull the chair closer to the grate. Let the heat's heavy on our skin. The amber pulse in the heart. Keep the world on the other side. The wind is howling through the oaks, rattling the latch on the door. But we are anchored here, safe in this circle of heat. Pull the chair closer to the grates. Let the heat's heavy on our skin. The amber pulse in the heart. Keep the world on the other side. The logs settle into white ash. One last spark climbs the flue. Wrap the wool tight around us. Wait for the morning to break. The park is damp with autumn rain. The iron gates are closing soon. You look at me with tired eyes and start to speak your mind. You describe a grander way of life, of heights you feel you ought to scale. The weight of all those big ideas is resting on your shoulders now. I watch the way the evening fades and keep my spirit close to yours. It's lovely how you chase the light with such a fierce and gentle heart. Though many folks might turn away or find the path too steep to tread, I'll be the one who stays right here to catch you if the footing fails. So much of you, it asks for cannot give. But here in this quiet, leafy space, there is no need to prove your worth. We'll let the hours drift along, just being who we truly are. So tell me all your wilder plans, the things you fear and those you love. Your loyalty is quite enough to keep the winter from the door. You're always such a constant soul, and truly still a friend of mine. A friend of mine. Always.
pavements damp under my boots, watching the tide pull the river back. Strange how the season just lets go without a single word of protest, letting go. Strolling past the soot-stained brick, everything shifting its weight today. The brass feels cold against my palm, still in the notes. A new divide opens wide beneath my feet, and I'm just stepping over the crack. Mind the gap as it widens. See the far side yet. The fog's a bit thick round the bend, but I've never been one for maps. Rather just feel the air change shape. Let the old ways drift downstream. I'm moving with the heavy swing across the divide, calm as you like, just another night in the light. I'm sitting on the weather-beaten bench, watching the light slant across the gray stone path. Watching the lights. The heat is a heavy woolen blanket, resting on the old Victorian brickwork. There is a silence here that feels deliberate, as if the garden is holding its breath, waiting for the afternoon to tilt. The roses are slightly overripe this July. Their perfume hangs thick in the humid air, hangs so thick, pinned down by a complete lack of breeze. I watch a single bee circling the lavender, entirely indifferent to my presence. The whole world feels remarkably small from the edge of this lawn. It is a peculiar kind of luxury, having absolutely nothing to say to the sky. I used to find this quietness unnerving, something to be filled with noise or movement. Used to find it unnerving. Now it is just a fact of the hour, a necessary pause in the middle of things that requires no explanation at all. The shade under the oak tree spreads now, cooling the moss and the damp gravel. I should likely head back inside the house. I should head back inside, but the stillness is far too convincing. This This green pocket of the city, just waiting for the evening to arrive. Unbothered by the time, unbothered by the time.
Check the stride, catch the beat on the pavement. Two-step, sidestep, cutting through the borough market crowd, without ever losing the natural momentum of our unspoken shorthand. We don't need a map or a plan or a paragraph, because your silence speaks a louder truth than most people shouting. That's the rhythm, that's the pulse, that's the walk, that's the walk. Solid like the black cabs idling in the rain, reliable like the tide hitting the river wall at midnight, when the rest of the city is fast asleep and the air feels heavy. You stood square when the world tried to push me back, push back harder, dug your heels in, wouldn't budge, my mate, my shield, my constant heavy beat. The heavy beat. Suddenly the traffic shifts and the lights go sharp in JM rig, zigzagging across the wet asphalt like a horn player searching for the note. Changing lane. But we don't lose the pocket, we don't lose the swing, keeping pace. It's a complicated dance, but we make it look easy, like a solo that lands perfectly on the tonic, clean and sharp and utterly without a doubt. So we keep the strut, keep the chin up, keep going. No words required, just the nod and the wink that says everything I need to know about where we're headed next. That says everything I need to know about where we're headed next. The years are just a backdrop for the main theme. Still standing, still swinging, still here for the long haul. Still a friend of mine, always here, still here, in the pocket. Still a friend of mine, no words needed. Still a friend, keep the stride, solid, still here.
The starch in this collar is a mine of violence. I stand near the buffet, feeling the weight. They are discussing the geometry of new development. My hands are deep in these expensive pockets, searching for a reason to remain upright. The suit fits like a very polite cage. This is the line I am supposed to walk. This is the tide coming for the carpet. I am crossing the divide in my mind. I am crossing the divide right now. I see you across the arrangement of lilies. You look like a statue waiting for the chisel. The glass in your hand is dangerously full. We both know the script is missing the ending. The pavement outside is calling for our shoes. We are breathing the same recycled air, calling, waiting. Ignore the invitations and the plastic smiles. The structure is leaning toward the water. Everything we built is just a heavy coat. Take it off, leave it on the mahogany table. Leave it all, leave it. The architecture here doesn't account for the soul. Steel beams holding up a very expensive lie. I can feel the vibration of the cooling system. It sounds like a heart that stopped trying. There is no truth in the way they look at us. Stop trying. The vibration. This is the line. I am coming for the carpet. I am crossing the divide in my mind. I am crossing the divide right now. The water is rising. Sudden stop on a dry bass note.
The kettle is singing for tea, while the mist is still draped on the lawn. A lovely hour for the postman to pass and for me to find my place. My knees press against the dampers, the lantern isn't and won't turn. Pudding's ties to purse. The lavender needs a bit of a trim. I find myself thinking of grander things while pulling the weeds from the border. From the garden border. A robin is watching my every move, hoping for a worm or a scrap to find. How simple it is to be perfectly still under the pale gray of a London sky. What a lovely sky. We spend our hours chasing the wild winds, forgetting that the roots require the rain. It seems rather divine to just linger here, where nothing is asked of my weary mind. The soil is dark and remarkably cold, a gentle reminder that I am here, tending to life in a very small way, while the world begins its morning just the roses and the damp grass, a bit of peace in the quiet air, so very quiet, before the day begins to call.